Hello, my name is Leylah Moreno and I'm the diversity editor for the Iowa State Daily, and welcome to Humans of Iowa State. Today I'm joined with Onyeka Onyenemezu. Onyeka, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. My name is Onyeka Onyenemezu. I am a student in the Chemical and Biological Engineering department. I'm a PhD student in my 5th year. And so I do mostly research and walk around campus with student organizations and such. So.
Yeah, and can you tell me a little bit about those student organizations that you're a part of?
Okay, so over the past 2 years, I've been heavily involved with the Graduate Society of Women Engineers, which is just basically grad students in the engineering departments, mostly women, but our events are open to all engineering students. And so in that, I've been like social directors, kind of, and other positions. Right now, I'm the president, and most of the work I do is like sourcing out funding, thinking about events to do, talking with the dean or talking with like industry partners and setting up stuff for students to enjoy. Hopefully it benefits like as many students as possible.
And how did you get into that?
So I generally like to just get involved in stuff, but not really take on a position. I just like to be like an appendage or such, just helping do stuff. And so I had this friend who was like, hey, could you just apply? We're looking for officers. And I was like, maybe. And so there are a list of questions like to answer. And I just wrote a few sentences and she was like, okay. She accepted me and was like, okay. And then I started and I was really good at it in the first year, like just getting people together. And with graduate students, it's kind of different because a lot of people don't want to go to events unless there's some kind of benefit to them. So planning stuff for them is kind of different and getting people engaged. And I was good at it and I was like, okay, I'm going to continue. And I just like the idea of like, just us sharing our stories, because a lot of us have different work, research. There's a lot going on for a grad student, and just being able to just sit together and say, hey, this is my problem. And someone's like, yeah, me too. I'm having this challenge in my research and I don't know what to do. And just having that environment, it's really good for just the mental health or like students in general to come together like that.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good like support system to have.
Yeah, it is. It is also for me. That was one of the reasons I stuck with them, just going for their events before I eventually started doing any like executive roles or anything. So.
And do you feel like as being a woman in engineering, do you face like a lot of obstacles?
Yeah, I'd say the main one is there's a lot more men than women in engineering. So there's more competition. And I would say how I grew up or my culture is more like we're not so assertive. Like here you gotta talk yourself up. You gotta sell yourself. Usually where I come from is just like, okay, I'll just let my work speak for me and stuff. So just learning that also, and also as a woman, it's different. It's just a different challenge altogether.
And I believe you're also part of the African Graduate Student Association.
Yeah. So it's actually AFLEC. So it's like the African Learning and Evolving Community. We started that like 2 years ago. So there's a lot of students from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Zimbabwe, just a lot of African students. And it's very different where we come from. Like I said, the difference in culture. And then there's also the difference in like the education system, right? There it's like, okay, you have coursework, this is what you need to read to pass, and maybe you come write an exam, pass. Here it's more different. You have to be involved in class. You have to maybe go for office hours, talk to the professors. And then there's the fact that a lot of us have accents. And so you could speak and your professor doesn't understand. And after a while, they start to dismiss you. They're like, okay. So just getting to help students adapt to the culture, adapt to the food, because it's different kind of food, adapt to the weather. Some people the first time they saw winter was in Iowa. So it's a whole, you only notice how much of a difference it is for them if you never had the community to help you with stuff. It's a huge challenge to transition from that environment to this environment and excel academically and still, be emotionally okay. So yeah, I'm so proud of like what AFLEC has done so far. And initially the idea was just to get Africans more familiar with the system. But now, recently, they had this hackathon where we had a problem to like solve the plastic problem in a major metropolitan city and all. So it has moved from, okay, adapt to, now be innovative. There's so many resources at Iowa State. How can you leverage those and solve a problem back home that could potentially affect millions? So I'm so proud of those people. I stopped like being an executive some time ago, so it's just good to see what you started grow and other people take it up and do much better than you expected. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about back home in Nigeria and your experience growing up?
Yeah. So I come from a middle class family, and so I was born in kind of an urban area. So there are good schools. The challenge with Nigeria, I'll just focus on like the educational sector. The challenge is we're taught to read a book, answer questions, take the exam. There's not much focus on the innovative side, right? So I think that's where it's lacking and where it's different. We're just taught, a lot of people who go to universities, for example, for chemical engineering courses, they end up not doing chemical engineering because there's not a lot of jobs available and that skill is not needed as much. So if let's say there's like 2,000 people going to chemical engineering, maybe we need 100 or so. So you see people, they're just going to school because they want a degree and then they might just go do businesses. So there's the drive to be innovative, to create, to solve problems is not really imbibed in the educational system. It's not there. So that's one way it's lacking. And infrastructure is a whole different, like back home, we don't have as much as we have in Iowa State. Just thinking about my lab, which is just the biorenewables research lab. And today I was in the chemistry lab and I'm like, okay, this is just a teaching lab. So there's a lot of resources here that we don't have. So it's a huge difference. Yeah.
And coming from that complete like 180 in how, education is over there, how did you get into chemical engineering? Like what sparked that interest for you?
Okay, so like I said, I live in an urban area, and the state I live in, it's called River State. It's very oil rich. So we had like the big companies like Shell, Chevron, Seplat in that state. So for a child growing up, I was good at math, I was good in school. So it was like, okay, you're gonna be a chemical engineer and go into the oil industry and make all that money. So that was what got me into chemical engineering. And I was lucky because it's not so easy to get into the university in Nigeria. Like I said, it's maybe 200 positions in one school, and there's tens of thousands of people trying to get into that. So I was lucky to get into the chemical engineering program in the Federal University of Technology in Owerri. And I was there for 2 years. And all the time I was thinking I was do chemical engineering, pursue a career in the oil industry. And then I moved. I got a scholarship and then I moved to like Russia for education. And that was where it changed from like chemical engineering, oil industry to more like, okay, chemical engineering, let's focus on like sustainability and the environment. It was just like a change for me then. And now my research in the chemical and biological engineering department is more leaning to, how it's more sustainability and engineering to produce outside of fossil fuels, alternative fuels, right? Biofuels. So it's like it's same degree, but not the same path. Yeah.
Kind of like two different sides of the
Yeah.
same coin almost.
Yes.
Yeah. How was that move for you to Russia? What was that like? Were you all by yourself?
No, I wasn't. So my country has this bilateral agreement with Russia where students come on a scholarship fully funded by the government and we get stipends. So we weren't alone. We were like 80 of us, 19, 18, 16-year-olds.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yes, and it was funny because we moved in November, which is like winter. So we had like one chaperone, like one officer from the ministry just follow us. And yeah, we all had like this cheap ass coats that don't really help. We were just lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, that feeling of the cold. This isn't what we expected. We thought it was we there's no way to describe the difference in the weather and the temperature. And for us being so young, it was an experience. But the good thing is we had each other. You had like people having the same experience as you did at that young age. So I think that was what mattered the most.
How was adapting to the language there?
Oh, yeah. That's what the program really is about. It's like, okay, hey, we want your students, foreigners, to come and adapt to our system and see how it goes. So learning the language, I think when you talk about like shifts in how a person sees life and sees how to approach tasks, I think for me that was one of the shifts, because now I feel like anybody can learn anything. For them, they had us in a hostel with people from all over Africa, people from all over the Middle East, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, like just students who spoke different language living in the same hostel. And our language school was just on one of the floors. So it was like, interact, come to class. You have your Afghanistan classmate next to you, someone from maybe Benin, and they speak French. So it's like the common language for you all is Russian. And so your teacher just starts off with, okay, the alphabet, because it's a Cyrillic alphabet. So it's a different alphabet. So it's like A, B. So it's like you're learning something from actual scratch. And I loved that experience. Yeah, that's why they say like immersion is the best way to get people to learn like a language. So just being there and knowing that's your only choice. I think one of the biggest mistakes for me was going into the grocery store and I bought soap instead of cream. So it's like they look the same, and you're like, okay,
No.
yeah. So it's immersion. You just gotta survive.
Learn the hard way.
Yeah, and we're young enough that we could take it, I guess. Yeah.
Was that culture shock for you? Like, was that the first time that you had left Nigeria?
It was. The biggest shock was the weather, right? Just how cold it is in Russia. The next shock was like, oh, we actually can't, like English, you don't understand English? I don't know if you've had that like realization that nobody here understands your language. You either bring out your phone and translate, or you just have to speak their own language. So that too. Then the food was a big adjustment. And I didn't really cook at the time. So I was left at the mercy of, I think the first few months I was just eating cakes and drinks.
Right.
Yeah. So it did help. There were some students who had already been there before. So they could like tell you, hey, this rice is good. So what's the difference between parboiled rice? There's different kinds of rice. And we just had one in our country. Yeah. It was rice. So you could buy one and then you cook it, gets so soft quickly. So you just needed that senior student there to tell you, oh, here's the thing to do. Here's what to do.
kind of introduce you
to the new system. Even when we needed to go to the bank to open an account, you can't. You need somebody to translate. You can.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
need
literally like every single
thing. Your passport is in English. You need it translated to Russian for them to understand. Right? They can't. They're using a different alphabet, so it's like a whole change. And then very soon you become that senior and you're helping people and you're speaking the language and going around. Yeah, so it was easier before so we had a language school and then we had our degree, like our courses. So we spent like 6+ months in the language school and just kicked us in to like classes. And so in my department, I was the only African. I was the only non-native speaker. So there are people from, say, Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan speaks Russian, so they're kind of fluent. They can move around, but that was different because I didn't have anybody to say, hey, I speak English and have them translate to somebody for me. So it's like, just throw you in the deep end, swing.
That's intimidating for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that's where you now start to make friends. Like I had a very close Russian friend, Sveta, and she just liked to speak to me and we would just talk. She didn't understand English, so we had to speak in Russian. And so just having to figure things out and lean on people, learning to adjust and get used to like speaking with people from a different culture. And yeah, that's what I would say I learned in Russia. It's like the importance of like community and just getting to know people and just talking to people who are kind of different from you, just learning from other people and their perspectives.
Is that different from where you grew up?
You mean Russia?
Yeah, is Russia like that kind of culture? Like,
oh yeah, it's very different. Russians are more, I won't say they're not unfriendly, but they're just strict. I think for me, when I came to Iowa State and IOR, and I had people smile at me who didn't know me, I was like, why? Right? Because in Russia, they don't do that. Like, so I'm used to that culture of, okay, just mind your business. If you know someone, you could smile, but why are you smiling at me if you don't know me? I felt creeped out. I'm like, okay, why? So that culture of Russians are more strict. If they have business with you, they deal with you. Yeah. So adjusting to that. In our country, it's more, they're friendly. Not that they would smile at you randomly. That's still strange to me. But people are more open to helping you out. And yeah.
And what did your parents what was their whole feelings about you? Or just your family in general, your friends from Nigeria? Like, how did they all feel about you kind of taking this massive leap?
Yeah. I think my dad was hesitant. So he was hesitant about going to Russia. So my dad actually, he studied in the University of Minnesota. So he had an experience of like being outside. But I think he just thought Russia, they speak a different language. And, Russia has a bad PR outside. So he was like, I don't know about that. But my mom, she was like, let's go. This is so nice. This is a great opportunity. You finally got a scholarship. Let's go. So she was very excited about it. And I wanted to go. I wanted to leave the country at that time. So with my friends, again, I was already in the university at the time. So I just told them like, hey, I won't be coming back next semester. And people were like, oh, where are you going? Russia. Why? So it's like, why that? Because everybody knows a different language and people are used to people going to like Canada or the US or the UK, but Russia, why? So that was it. Like people were like just apprehensive of, they don't know much about what goes on in Russia. Or like we're exposed to the culture in English speaking countries, but not as much with like countries like Russia. Yeah.
And so what was your decision kind of like when you decided to come to Iowa State as well?
With Iowa State, I had done my research. I had also talked to like a couple of professors in the CBE department because we have to like do an interview and have like this open door kind of thing where like professors just come and talk on Zoom about like the research they do. So it was an easy decision. I had done some research in undergrad. It was on like wastewater and like plastics using like sludge to kind of break down plastics. So I had some research exposure, I would say. So when I heard about all the things they were doing, it was much bigger than what I had done. I was like, okay, I'm interested. Finding Iowa State, I was looking at the Midwest because I have like uncles and cousins all around the Midwest. So that was how I got to like find Iowa State. But for the program and choosing the course I did, it was like the professors and the innovative research being done in CBE. So.
And what has your experience so far been like?
It's been great. I've been here for, like I said, I've been here since 2021, which is a long time. And CBE is great, right? We're like one of the best departments for graduate students. And so what they did was when you come in, especially for people who are coming in the fall, is when you come in, you get to like kind of interview the professors about the kind of research they do. You get to choose where you want to go. So that experience was great for me. I talked to a bunch of professors and I chose to join Dr. Laura Jabo in the CB department. And so far it's been great. She's supportive and also leaves you to learn. It's like you got to figure your stuff out. I think the initial meetings I'll have with her, and then I talk about the problem. She's always like, okay, how do you think you want to solve that? So right from like when I started, I learned to like think on my feet, to do the independent thinking and then bring my next action, like what do you want to do next, to her, and then she can say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea or not. So I think that has made me to be more independent and go out for like look for opportunities on my own. It's great. I notice I haven't even spoken about all my researches.
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit about that. Let's get into that. Tell me some more.
Yeah. So again, I'm in more of the biological engineering side. So we work on like fermentation processes. I know if people hear fermentation, they think mostly, okay, brewing of beer, but fermentation is used for the production of other chemicals. I think one of the large-scale productions that was done with fermentation was during the First World War, when they were producing acetone, butanol, and the rest. And that process was, how do I say? That process was derived, right? And it helped production. And then they stopped using that process because it was just cheaper to produce it chemically instead of the biological route. And so that's one of the problems this fermentation faces. Is like, how do you make it cheaper? How do you make it more accessible? And that's where my research comes in. So we're trying to engineer microbes to be more robust, to be able to withstand the kind of conditions that we experience during production. So, for example, it's going to be so hot, the acidity is going to be high. So how do these microbes adapt to that? So our approach is like, okay, proteins in the microbes, like microbes are made up of proteins, and how can we engineer the proteins themselves to be more robust, and in turn, these organisms will be more robust. And so my work is, it's both the computational side and the wet lab side. So if we check like protein engineering strategies, all of the AI that's on, like can we predict a protein that can like be more stable, and how can we engineer our organism with that protein and see if it becomes more robust. And so it's two-sided, because I work with people who are more on the computational side, and then I have to do the CRISPR, the engineering myself, and checking that this process works. So it's been a learning curve for me, and yeah, so far it's been great, going out there, presenting at conferences, having people like give me feedback on the work I've done. I like it. It's different. It's like I wear a different hat when I'm speaking about like my work versus when I'm out there. So, yeah.
And what's your like mindset when you're approaching your research?
My mindset. So usually when you're an undergrad or before, whatever problem you're solving, there's an answer to it, right? You solve a problem, the teacher has an answer sheet and grades you on that. It's different with research because you're on the cutting edge. You're the one furthering the field in that aspect. You're in this niche place and you have to like work on it. There's no real answers. You can look at what other people have done, but at some point it's just a blank page and you have to like write and inform new researchers in that field. So I think that's where it's different from for researching, and for me it's like bringing new knowledge, sharing that knowledge and getting feedback, and yeah.
And for your fermentation research, where is that kind of going for you? Like, what does that look like? What does the day-to-day kind of involve?
Now it's my days like I did an internship last summer, which was also close to like the related to my research. I could talk about that later. But now it's more like, okay, we had to like have a manuscript out. So I spent a bunch of time writing and out of the lab. Now I'm back to the lab. I'm trying some work that we've been trying to get it to work. Like it's like end stage. So it's validating processes we've already done in the past. And yeah, it's most of what I do nowadays is repetitive. Yeah.
What does it feel like to have just come this far in not only as a person but professionally as well?
In terms of, yeah, so it feels, it feels great. When I look back, when I actually critically think about all I've done and how far I've come, it's great. I wouldn't have imagined growing up back home in Nigeria that I would be at the cutting edge of technology and be one of like the experts in what I do. So when I look big picture, it's great. Well, sometimes I'm like, okay, I just want to get a degree and get a job. Because research, you never know, right? You could try something 10, 12, 15 times, and it only works the 16th time. So it's like, it's not a good place to be in when you zoom in. But when you zoom out, it's great how much we get to accomplish and how much we get to try. Yeah, I think it's, when I look at how far I've come, I'm grateful. I think grateful is the word that I get to do this. It's my dream. So.
And how does it feel like, how do you deal with, like having to go through all those failures and still try to keep working towards that goal?
I guess that's why I have so many side projects. That's why I guess that's why I'm so involved in like with the student organization and other things, because I'm gonna give my hours to my work and go back home, and I'm constantly thinking about my research and how I could change, what I could change. But it's important to also have something on the side that you also work towards. So whether it be if you're going to the gym, a lot of grad students end up being gym rats. If you're going to the gym, or if you have like a startup you have in mind, a lot of people do startups. So just having something going on alongside your research helps. because sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's like, oh, we have this to get this paper out. Yeah. So I would say find something else. If you want to learn to cook, cook on the side. But it's important to have like a clear head and speak to other people about whatever challenges you're facing. I feel like having a community always helps.
I'm gonna shift a little bit, and
Okay.
I kind of want to hear about your internship experience and how that kind of developed you in your career and as a student, as a person.
Yeah. So I did an internship with Cargill in Minnesota, and my internship was like a fermentation R&D intern. And I'll say the biggest impact it had on me was like how much like revenue is being gotten in the field and how much more technology. So I talked about how the labs here are super fancy and we have a lot of stuff. In industry, they have much more fancy stuff, and you don't get to do the small jobs of like preparing plates, or there's some other things we have to do as grad students, but that's all done for you. In industry, it's just like, hey, we want you to focus on fixing this, like this niche part of it. And yeah, it's more focused, but also you have more resources allocated to you. And another thing is they want you to think about the customers. You're not in research, you're just thinking, I want to solve this problem for science. Just advance the field. With them is we want this to make us money, right? And I think I like that. It's more focused on quick results. Let's try a bunch of things and see what works. And we're going to push as much money into that. If it doesn't work, let's pick it up and find something else. So it kind of shifted my mindset a little bit on the work we do, how it's being used today. Yeah, we're innovating and thinking about the future, but there's a lot that's being used already. So seeing that outside our lab and seeing real world industrial applications, I think it was great for me and the way I think about my research.
Right. Like not just discovery, but
Yeah, not just discovering, but applying. And one distinct thing they used to say is like a 1% increase in production could make them millions, right? You wouldn't think about that when you're in the lab. It's like just increase the production and efficiency of this process by 1% and we're good. And so they keep increasing and making millions.
can I hear about what your next steps might be? What's in the future for you? What can we expect from Onyeka?
Okay. The next step for me, so I have another internship I'm doing. It's like a co-op, it's 6 months. But big picture for me is like, I want to work in the industry for a bit, but I think I want to teach. Like, when I was in the university, I always thought, oh, I could be a professor too, back home in Nigeria. And then I came to Iowa State and I saw professors do a lot, especially research professors. You have to think about funding and grants. And I was like, maybe that's not for me. But now I'm about to finish. I'm like, yeah, I could just teach. I like teaching. I'm good at teaching. I've like mentored graduate students in the lab and they say I'm good at it and they want to come back and maybe also go to grad school too. So I want to teach eventually, let's say in like 3 years or so. Go to industry, get a lot of experience, then teach. Maybe. That's that's Onyeka in 2026, March.
Right.
I could change my mind.
Now, exactly.
I could change my mind.
Right. Anytime.
Yeah.
I would like to hear, this one's a little out of left field, a little random, but I want to hear if you have any sort of message that you would like to tell little Onyeka, like when you were younger, if you could go back, like what would you tell her?
Yeah. I would say you're living your dream. Maybe it's time to dream bigger. Yeah. So you've done what you could for yourself. Now it's time to think about like influencing people, how to serve your community. Because again, my education since secondary school has been free. Most of it was the government of Nigeria and Russia like sponsoring me. So I think I've gotten a lot of free stuff. It's time to start thinking, how can I make a change, make an impact in people around me and my community, other Africans, other people. Just contribute to people and not just keep elevating yourself. Do more about your community and stuff.
Is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything else you'd like to speak about?
So again, passion project. I think Affleck is doing a great job. And I feel like they should keep doing what you're doing. It's fulfilling to serve other people and see your work impact somebody else. So my message to people is just, if you're feeling lost or maybe you need a change, maybe try just helping somebody else out or volunteering and doing something for other people. It does help to impact and do something for somebody else, change somebody else's life positively. So.
That's all the questions I have for you, but thank you so much for coming and for being on the show.